Welcome back to the Fast Performance Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Cole Thomas, with my co-host,
Connor Reynolds.
Connor, what's been happening? So we haven't done a podcast in what?
I haven't had one.
Yeah, I know. It's been a little wonky lately. We got the new lights figured out, and we had a bunch of stuff going on. Yeah, you were on vacation. We had a bunch of stuff going on. So what's new? We have a special announcement for Connor here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I will not be here for the foreseeable future for the summer. At Fast, I've taken a new position. I'm going to be interning at Driveline Baseball up in Kent, Washington for the next 6 months. So kind of moving fast, kind of moving rapid.
Yeah.
Something that I've been wanting to do for about 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Something that when I first came over, I had talked to, Jason, Joel, and JC of like, hey, this is, if I'm able to have this opportunity, I'm going to take advantage of it. So ended up getting the official phone call this past Friday. So we're doing this on Tuesday the 11th. I got that phone call this past Friday of them essentially wanting me to be down there in 2 weeks. So right now it's just crazy hectic, just trying to, find a place to stay. Obviously, I'm going to be taking Strider. So I've already had enough kind souls to say that they'd be willing to take him in. If I wasn't taking them, but I'll be taking them up, and we'll be out of here for the next 6 months up in Washington.
Nice. So for everyone who may be asking what's going to happen to the podcast now that Connor will not be here, our intent is to keep it going the best we can. If there's days, maybe you might just get me, and I know that's going to be boring as hell. Me and all my charisma. But what we'll try to do is when we can have Connor on, we'll have him on. Maybe we'll get some. What's going on in the inner workings of Driveline inside the building, get some scoops, and we'll work to try to have a lot more guests maybe that might interest you guys. If you got anybody that might be worth interviewing that you might be interested in, leave them in the comments down below. We'll make sure to reach out. Maybe we'll get some hitting people. I'll get Connor to write me notes on what I should ask for the hitting guys if I ever have them on. But probably a lot more pitching guys. I've got a few names in mind that we'll probably work in here in the meantime. But the podcast, I believe, will continue. May not be as regular, but we'll try to get as much out as we can and as much capacity as we can as well to try to keep you guys entertained, keep you guys informed on all things baseball, and keep this momentum we got going down.
Yeah.
So, you had anything? If we have anything else to say about the Driveline thing, or?
Kind of about it. Something that I've been wanting to do, like I said, for a long time, and it's something that I personally want to be the most educated I can be, right?
Yeah.
And so, going through, it's been something that I've kind of been working towards for a long time. Started streaming my lessons a couple years ago with the possibility or thought that, something like this might happen. And so I was trying to just build up as much of a catalog, if you will, of myself, just coaching and different things like that. And so if there's anybody else that's kind of in the same boat that's wanting to possibly pursue that, something like this, maybe it's not Driveline, maybe it's 108, maybe it's Texas Baseball Ranch, maybe it's Florida Baseball Ranch, maybe it's the farm system, whatever it is. If you're somebody that might be in that boat of something in a few years, reach out, let me know. I would love to help out anybody that might be possibly interested, of kind of how I've been thankfully able to be put in a position where I can take something like this. I'm pretty lucky. A lot of cards fell in the right, spots. I've got a few buddies that are up there, had a lot of interactions. And so I view it's one of those things where if you're prepared and ready for an opportunity that comes, if you're someone that is prepared and ready for it, it may be something that is, abnormal or crazy, a little bit different, but you are going to be able to make that jump, or when that opportunity arises, you're going to be able to take advantage of it because you are prepared and ready. If this is something that you guys might want to possibly do in the future, maybe it's not even with baseball and interning, maybe it's a different company, maybe it's wanting to do something of your own, whatever it is, just waiting around for the opportunity to then start working towards it, I don't think is going to be something to where it'll be as beneficial. It's more of one of those things where if you want it, work towards it. There's a saying of, dress for the job that you want. And I kind of have taken that approach with how I go about my training and how I create my systems, is that essentially I've been dressing for the opportunity to work at a place like Driveline. I've been thankful enough to be at a place here at FAST, which is essentially the Driveline in Colorado, the first forefront to implement, Driveline programs and using track, in the first place in Colorado to get a TrackMan. And so I've been able to do that here, and now we're looking to take it to the next step. And it's been a long journey so far, but I'm really excited for it. And for any players I've ever been able to interact with, for any coaches I've been able to interact with, for any parents that have trusted me and being able to work with your athlete, I just want to say thank you. Pretty much every single opportunity or player that I've ever worked with over the last 5 or 6 years, you have built up and led me to this position to be able to take an opportunity like this. And so even if we just did one lesson with each other, maybe there was something in that lesson that helped me prepare for this moving forward. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that has kind of been a part of this journey to get me to this point. I want to say thank you for all the people that have been listening and, giving reviews. I want to say thank you to all the instructors here at FAST. I want to say thank you to everybody that I've ever been able to work with, whether it was a good relationship or maybe ended, not in the greatest of terms. Every up and down that I've been a part of over the last few years has built up to this opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, we're all super happy for you, and we're happy for you to take this opportunity. So, yeah, like I said before, if you guys have any thoughts, ideas, people we can have on, leave them down in the comments. We're going to leave you with a wonderful interview we just recorded with our friends Drake Biggins and Brooks Benson from Front Range Baseball Academy down in Larkspur. I think you guys will really enjoy it. We'll see you all next Tuesday.
Like, you got to do what's best for you, because at the end of the day, that's, again, like I said, that's what we hang our business model on. We're 1000% for the kids. Like, that's what we do. We are out there to promote those kids, get them what they need for the next level. And again, we're not perfect in what we do, but Brooks and I pile our heads together and we say, hey, what did I do at Colby? What did you do at Garden? What did I do at Wayne? What did you do at Swasu? What did we do that we liked, what we disliked? And how do we make practice plans? How do we make training structures? How do we create all that stuff based on what we know works, what we like, and what we want to try and experiment with? Because I won't lie, I still have fun experimenting. I like going in there and doing shit just to try it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this going to work? Let's try it. Let's see. Like, we have a handful of guys that are just those freakishly talented guys that we could try anything because they're just sponges. Like, oh, we want to try and see if doing a full 360 then swinging works today. Like, let's try it with Nate. Like, why not? Let's try it with this kid who's going to just absorb everything and just do whatever we tell him to do.
That's awesome.
Like, that's what's fun about this, man.
And not to mention, we could do that and get them on the field and see how it works in games.
100%. And something that I've gone through, I'm lucky enough to coach for 3.5 years, this one team going through. And I will say, because you are going against the model, there are going to be a lot of growing pains. There are going to be a lot of families that I interacted with where I had one year where 4 families decided to go another route. Very next year, every single one of them came back. And they're like, the way that you were doing it, we didn't realize, how we were setting them up for with the practice plans and this and that. It's different because it's what they're going to be doing.
Yes.
We're preparing them for what they're going to be doing, not what they're currently doing. And a lot of them necessarily may have not understood that, or maybe I didn't explain it well enough. But I will say the amount of text messages that I got, because my group was a 2022. So all of my guys are just going through their first spring, their first fall. The amount of text messages I've received from those players that did move on, and a good amount of them did, that were like, thank you. Like, I didn't necessarily understand it at the time, but I do now. Like, how prepared they are compared to all the other freshmen. For me, that was my biggest goal. I know that's what your guys' biggest goal is. And so you are going to feel a little like pushback from some individuals that maybe they had one kid go through that didn't go on to college, but they're like, oh, this is how it's always been done. you're also going to hit that family that has had a player go through college that they're like, no, like this is what they're going to be doing. So it may not be the easiest at the time, but it's going to be what's best long term for them.
Oh, and we've already had that because you and I have had conversations multiple times where I had families come to us instantly and say, because this is how they were trained by all the big boys, was we got to play a ton of games in the fall. All we need is games in the fall.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I had to recondition these people to be like, hey, listen, like we need to train in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to go play some games, what's beneficial for us is to go do exposure opportunities. Like let's train all fall and highlight 4 prospect camps that we want to go and take the whole team to go perform in front of said colleges that all these people have interest in. That's what the fall's for.
Yep.
Or let's go scrimmage against XYZ junior colleges just to get some exposure there. Like, what's the point in staying here and playing in a Colorado-based league and just going to play games just to play games?
Yeah.
Did we give that to our parents this fall just to show them what it looks like? Yeah.
Nope.
Did they all, after the fact, say, okay, I see why we don't do this? Yes. And sometimes that's what you need. You need to be like, hey, like, this is why we don't do this.
Yeah.
This is why we have a different business model in place, because this doesn't make sense. I'm just giving my money to one person, and we all know who it is. But I'm giving all my money to one person, and now I get, 18 games at most? I get 18 games where I'm paying $2,400 a player just to pay for umpires and field usage, and actually field usage isn't in it. Bring your own field or don't play. What? So what am I paying for in the fall?
Don't forget balls.
Yeah, like
I mean,
so then,
that's what something I've always felt is the biggest market inefficiency. That I mean, this goes back to we're all relatively the same age, and that's something we always dealt with when we were in high school. It was like, our fall league was we go to New Mexico, or we go to Utah, or we go to Texas, or we go wherever, right? And we're playing in front of you're told you're going to play in front of scouts, or you're going to play in front of school. You're going to play in front of schools. It's always I always remember going to New Mexico and playing in front of the New Mexico State coach. He was the only guy there.
And it was because it was their field, and
I was there for I still remember when I played for the Yard Select. It was a Slammers based or somewhat Slammers based team. We played at Long Beach, and there was this one graduate assistant who sat there for an 18 inning game and just watched us play against this other team. And I just remember at the end of it, my coach David just goes that guy sat here for 18. It was a terrible game too, because no one wanted to be there at that point, especially up to the 9th inning. And it just turns this guy was there the whole time. I'm yeah, but we're only looking at Long Beach State guys, and he knows who he's looking for. He's not, but I think we get parents and players will get put into this thought process of I'm going to go play in these tournaments and there's going to be these scouts here, but I like the way you guys do it is we're going to train, and this is why I've said for years how we need to change that model in the fall is train and get good, and then go to the tournaments that are going to be shooting fish in a barrel at that point, go to the Fall Classic, go to whatever the big perfect game showcase is, go to things that people are these coaches are going to spend their money to go see, because they're okay, I have thousands of kids, and I might just pop up to a field and I find a kid that interests me. Mm-hmm. And I was who was I talking? Sam, my Bear Creek kid, this last season he was 85 to 88. He's getting he's getting junior college looks and D2 looks and some D3s. And all he did was train all fall, all summer. It's all he did. We got him touching 90, and then he goes to one of those PBR showcases right before the season, touches 91, and now all of a sudden he's getting all these Division I calls. Oh yeah, and it's just I try to tell people all the time. It's and his mom tells me, yeah, he hits that 91 at that PBR. And I've told people on the podcast this before. It's he hit that 91. All of a sudden we're just getting all these calls all of a sudden, and it's yeah, I try to tell everybody all the fucking time. Get good. Get a good player.
It doesn't happen by accident.
The coaches come to you. Don't go to the coaches.
Well, and that's where baseball is so much different than everything else. Is you literally, as a baseball player, pretty much have to have one game in front of the right person.
Well, I feel that's always been the model. Is if you're a shitty player, if you just have that one game, then Arizona State's going to come calling you.
Open. Yeah, doors open, right? But and again, that's the other. This is gonna give me on a whole nother.
That's
But here's what I hate about this model too, though. Right, is that now the mantra for all of these high up big boy organizations that are running club teams are, hey, we are the reason you're getting these things.
Yeah.
You need us. Like, that's so wrong, right? Like, my job is to maybe give them a gentle nudge towards a certain direction that we've done our research. We think, hey, this school might be a good fit for you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, who opens that door?
Yeah.
The athlete does, not me. I'm not an idiot, okay? Like, the players have to initiate, open that door, and perform. I don't do any of that stuff. Are there schools that I could pick up a phone and say, hey, I've got a guy for you? And they say, yeah, I'll toss them some money and we'll take it. Yeah, I have that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is literally, it's just so disgusting to me what people hold over these kids' heads. Like, if you leave, you're never going to get a college scholarship because you won't have me.
Right.
Like, what is that?
Well, that's like my analogy I give a lot of guys all the time is like, you know, you guys could identify as like we provide like the yellow brick road for the athlete. Like, here's the guide that like if you follow this to a T or you do a pretty good job with this, you'll get to your goals. But I can't make you walk that yellow brick road.
Correct.
You've got to be the one that does it.
Well, yeah, and with that analogy, we're just more goal based, right? Like, I'll look at my pictures and say, hey, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to be some Friday night starter? Do you want to do this? Well, if you want to do that, this is the road you have to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't sugarcoat it for kids. I have kids that come up to me and are like, oh, yeah, well, I think I'm going to go to, like, ASU. I'm going to do this. And I'm like, all right, dude, you're 5'8". You are a 6'8" runner maybe if you're lucky. Like, you got a lot of tools to put in if you want that avenue. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but you better be, like, grinding every second of your life to get to that opportunity because that's what it's going to take. Like, if you're not gifted with some genetics, then sorry.
Right.
Like, that's how it goes sometimes. Like, again, I listened to a crazy, it was, what's his name? Sean Payton talking about working for Bill Parcells, right? Yeah. Bill Parcells was a big, like, archetype guy, right? Like, if we're going to draft a tackle, it has to be this guy, this build, this is how it is. Sean said, if you ever went to Bill Parcells with anything other than that, his first question was constantly, well, does he walk on water? Because he better be freaking amazing if he's going to go outside the archetype. And that's what people don't realize. Like, big D1s are looking for one thing. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not looking for the weird outlier. They're looking for one thing. And, like, that's where data helps too. Like, I can have a school call me and say, hey, I'm looking for a 6'1" first baseman that's putting up these numbers on RAF, throwing this hard, doing this. And I can be like, either yes, I have that guy, or no, I don't have that guy.
Right.
Like, that's what I love about the data is it makes some of these recruiting questions kind of just go away because it's literally, okay, I'm looking for this archetype player. Do you have him or no? No, I don't have him. Or yes, I do have him. Here he is. Take him.
Right.
It makes it just common ground, common verbiage. It makes it to where it's super easy. And for that, for as the instructor or the coach talking to the athlete too, it takes away that personal side of it. It makes it to where it's not that we are saying you're not good enough to get to this point right now. Mm-hmm. The averages, what they recruit, what the players that are getting to that level, that is what they are doing. Like, it's not us saying that you can't hit it hard enough. It's facts saying it. So it takes away that us being like the bad guy, and it makes us the opportunist to say, hey, you know, this is where you want to get to. This is where you're at. We're going to make that yellow brick road for you. Now it's up to that athlete, like you said, to walk down that road. But it takes away us being the bad guy saying you're not good enough, and it turns it into we can help you get there.
It's no longer a subjective assessment. It's an objective assessment. Where it's like, I can pop a guy on a track, man, and you go like, he's a senior, and he's like, I throw 65. I'm like, okay, well, bud, you're not going for it.
Exactly. Right? Well, then along with that, the other cool thing that every one of our athletes gets is they get their own NCSA profile once they start signing in with us. And the other cool thing that you can do on that platform is, let's say I'm like, just to use Tennessee as an example, right? Like, let's say I want to go to Tennessee. Well, I can go into Tennessee's database, look at the players that are on that roster, look at their profiles, what numbers did they have when they were getting recruited to Tennessee, and I can see how far off I am.
Yeah.
Like, that's a perfect live tool that, like Connor just said, I don't even have to be the bad guy there then. It's like, okay, hey, here's this profile.
Here's who they're getting.
This player. This is the last 6 shortstops that they've picked up. This is what every single one of them has looked like. Here's your profile. You got some work to do.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be there, you got a lot of work to do. But that's where, again, like, it's nice to have stuff like that, because then it's not just me being an asshole saying, hey, you're not going to get there right this second.
Right.
This is tangible data of how they recruit. Like, you can't argue that, right? Like,
No.
that's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's even for kids who maybe don't have like an ESPN Plus account like we do here, and we can watch all those baseball games. It's like you watch those games and you watch those SEC programs. Like, the vast majority of kids here who think they can be competing at that level are nowhere close.
No. And what I've noticed to drop in more than anything is just simple baseball IQ stuff.
Oh yeah.
People just don't know how to play.
Oh,
And that's what kills me, is that, like, we could have the most talented guys in the world. Like, we have ridiculous talented guys, but, like, some of them just don't have any idea what they're doing when they get onto a field. And that's just as detrimental. Like,
oh yeah.
if I can't put
Billy.
you out there,
Billy.
Oh, Billy, we love you, man.
Love you, Billy.
Let's do this. Give me a story.
Probably the most five-tooled player I've ever seen in my life.
This is a Garden.
Yeah,
it's Garden.
came
Yeah.
from Steamboat.
Oh, okay.
Least amount of baseball IQ I've ever seen in my life. Love you, Billy, but good Lord, dude would come in and be the courtesy runner, would get doubled off because he didn't know how many outs there were. Ball goes in the air, he's running. One time he had a ball down the line, just didn't run, ended up getting a double still because he ran like a 6.6 60.
Yeah.
Just unreal for, like, no baseball IQ. Love you, Billy. No baseball IQ.
He still went and played well at Lubbock Christian.
Yeah.
Because he figured it out a little bit.
He figured it out.
Cross those tools.
That's something like you having been a high school coach, been at East and at Bear Creek, and that's one of, especially kids coming into high school have just no idea, how double cuts work. They don't know how to have an approach. They don't know how to attack hitters. And like, so I always sit there, I'm like, what is going on at this 13, 14U level where we're just not teaching kids how to actually just play basic fundamental baseball? But then I remember, like, it turns into just, hey, let's go to Steamboat and get some trophies, and just hopefully our talent beats out the rest of the talent.
I'll even one up you there, because literally last summer, high school kids thought that a double cut meant that they threw to both cutoff men. They literally lined up. I hit a ball deep into a gap. They were 10 feet apart.
The Manny Ramirez.
Normal. Yeah. Literally normal double cut distance, but decided to throw it to each other still. I was like, what is going on here, boys? Well, you said double cut. I'm like, all right, sweet. Looks like we're talking about double cuts.
And that's something we've talked, Jason and I have talked about in the past, where I feel like we should like try to come up with like a curriculum, almost like a teacher in like elementary school, like come up with a curriculum. Like, here's what a baseball player needs to know by the time he's 8 years old. Here's what he needs to know by the time he's 10. Here's what he needs to know by he's 12. By the time he's 14, here's what he needs to know. And like, it would make it so much easier if like all coaches and parents I had an outline. Like, by the time you're entering high school, you should know what a double cut is. You should know how to have an approach in the box. You should know
the app to design too. I feel like.
Yeah, I feel
literally
it,
just
it can't be that hard where you just say like, here's what I want guys to know by the time. Like, as a now former high school coach, and one of the things like I don't miss about it is like having to teach kids. I'm like, this is basic shit that you don't know how to do.
Well, and I think, and this is going to be a nice little softball for you guys, but I think the cause of that is I feel a lot of people are going to go to, well, showcase ball.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a factor on it. But showcase ball, in my opinion, doesn't really hit until high school age. Like, you have to go through it enough. What I think is happening is you're having these big box office companies and programs going through and are valuing the wrong things.
Yes.
Mhm.
They're saying it to where as if instead of me teaching this kid how to do a double cut, all we're going to look to do is just play to where we can win at this level. At 13U, all you have to do is kind of put the ball in play. Good amount of time, they're going to have an error. If you bunt the ball at 13U consecutively, you're going to get runs. You're going to get runners on, and that is not going to play at the next level. That's not going to play at the level after that. But they're chasing these trophies. They're chasing, and I've talked about it all the time on here, is I think it's water cooler talk. I think the parents do it so that way at the end of the week on Monday, they can sit there with all the other friends at work and, Billy won this platinum, silver, gold, diamond division, blah, blah, blah. You got, look at this ring that he got. Look at this, look at that. But then all of a sudden that gets cut the following year because he doesn't know double cuts, because he doesn't know bunt coverages, because he doesn't know how to do a backdoor, throw. Like, I think it's from these big box office companies that are going through and just valuing the wrong things, so that way they can continue the model to continue growing.
Right.
Is what I think is
It's
happening.
like who's it? Devin Morgan has a good piece on that, like on the Driveline Youth program, where like obviously they teach guys like, you know, if you're a pitcher, throw the ball hard. If you're a hitter, hit the ball hard. And it's like it's understanding like the certain levels, you know, what will translate to the next level past the one you like. Where I think he had a stat on one of those videos on this Driveline Plus account where, you know, at the 12 or 10U level, like weighted on base average is like 600 because no one can make a throw, no one can field a ground ball. But then as you grow, obviously as you get older and older, the fielders get better and better, and easy ground balls are no longer hits or get turned into hits till you get out, and that's why you need to like set kids up for success later down the line beyond what the level they're at. It's like what I think we do a good job of is holding kids to a higher standard than the level they're already at. It's like I have many kids who get really pissed off at me when we do like bullpens or whatever. They're just like, I can't throw a strike. I'm like, good. I don't want you to throw a strike. I want to make this as hard as fucking possible for you.
Yeah.
That way, when you get into a game, it's easy.
Yeah, well, like, so I'll touch on both topics we just talked about, right? Because, like, as a catching guy, I 1,000% believe in overtraining.
Mhm.
I overtrain my catchers. I overtrain the absolute shit out of them. Every one of my catchers can catch 90 plus,
Yeah.
whether they're 12 years old or 18 years old. They can all catch 90 plus. Why? Because I want them to be uncomfortable inside, so when they get on the game, they feel like they're playing in slow motion.
Yeah.
10 times out of 10. Catching's the hardest position to do that for.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be in a zen mode. You have to be calm. You have to be collected, and you have to be able to feel like everything's moving slower than it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, again, I have two 12U catchers right now that legitimately can catch 90 miles an hour. Two, off a machine. Again, it's off a machine, so they know-ish where it's going, but I dare you to name however many other 12U catchers you know doing that, right?
Right.
Like, that's a big thing that I hang my hat on. It's like, that's what we do as catchers, is we overtrain. My 18U catcher right now, we set the machine up to 90, and he did the workup rounds where he literally would catch 3 balls, move up 2 feet, catch 3 balls, move up 2 feet. He got
Yeah.
20 feet away from my machine catching 90 miles an hour. That ball has to be coming out at like 110, 115. And
Oh, yeah.
he's literally just framing it up. Like, I have the video. I'll show you guys when we're done. But like, it's insane. But like, again, then when he goes in and catches our dudes, they're throwing 88, they're throwing 90. He's like, oh, okay,
This
I
is
see
easy.
why we're doing this. And Connor, I can't believe you're going to shit on AAA majors, right? Like, every single college program I talk to is asking me what these kids did for their 12U summer. Did they play majors? Because we won't recruit anybody that doesn't play majors.
all the time.
It's horseshit, man. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, and to go one step above that, I can't tell you. Well, I can tell you. I've had 0 coaches in my entire coaching career ask me for a single stat. What do college coaches want? They want to know that you're not a piece of shit, that you will play really hard all the time, and that you're a good program fit.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They don't give a shit what your stats are. They don't. If they did, I wouldn't have had college opportunities. I was a 200 hitter in high school.
I hit a $187 my senior year.
Play. Like, I literally found the right program fits for me. They value defensive catching over hitting. So what did I do my freshman year? I hit 280 my freshman year. Best I ever hit in my life because I had 0 pressure on it. They said, oh, yeah, best catcher catches. I said, fuck yeah, they do. So then I'll play every fucking game. You just hand me the rock and I'll do it.
Right.
Because I know that I can out-catch anybody, but I couldn't out-hit anybody. But I found a school fit that was for me. And, like, that's what a lot of guys don't realize anymore. And I think as good as the transfer portal is for people, I think it's just as much of a hurt, right? Like, people don't feel like they have to do as much research to find the right school for them because, like, regardless of your talent level, like, Connor knows this, Brooks knows this, JUCO's a fucking grind. You can't just send anybody there.
In JUCO as well.
Oh,
I was
so we all know, but I think that's a grind. You can't just send anybody to go play JC baseball. And, like, now is to the point where people realize how valuable JC baseball is too, where it's not like you didn't get the scholarship you wanted, okay, go ahead and go play JUCO. Like,
Yeah.
now you see World Series, every single team has at least 295 plus mile an hour arms. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Minimal.
and now it's like these guys are like, now JC is the place where you go like, oh, I'm draft eligible. I didn't get the money that I wanted. Okay, well then I can go stay draft eligible for 2 more years and get my money.
Yeah.
Go and win a national championship.
Right.
Like Lester McLennan, one of those.
Yeah, like I've seen more of
Central
that.
Arizona.
Like Colby 2 years ago, while my brother was there, had a absolute monster arm. Was 94 to 98, like big range, but like
Right.
I have watched that kid hit 98 in the bottom of the ninth, like just throws smoke. But like again, he was there because late bloomer A, but B, he didn't leave because he was like, well, I'll just get my big signing bonus and I'll go sign somewhere. Like that's what guys do now.
Right. Like I have Sam is going to go to Umpqua Community College up in Oregon, and I fully expect him to be there for a year. Because if he's 91 now, like by the time next spring rolls around, he should be 94 to 96.
Exactly.
Like that. And then he's going to become drafted. He can get drafted out of there, or he can just go have his selection of D1s. I want to go take him.
Yeah, but that's the realistic thing that we tell a lot more parents, right? Is like I have more parents,
And
than
it's
ever.
way cheaper.
Yeah,
It's way fucking cheaper.
Yeah, that's a big thing that I look at. Like I have less debt in 5 years of schooling than most of my buddies do in 1 year of going to CSU or doing something like that. Like I'm very fortunate for what I got to do, right? But it's like it's re-educating parents that are coming to us and saying, "Oh yeah, well, we got talked to by this tiny mid-major D1 that like we just want to play D1."
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's really cool, but now what's the ultimate goal, right?
Right.
Because all those D1 guys aren't going to bat an eye. They're going to look at me and say, well, I would love to play pro ball. Okay, well, do you think Johnny Yankee, the Yankee scout, is going to come and freaking show up to a tiny D1 school that has nobody on it and is just going to randomly show up and that's going to happen for you? Like,
It's that same thing where you're saying like you better be walking on water if you're going to get one of those mid majors.
Yeah, like and like that's my thing is it's like having to re-educate people because it is the water cooler talk. It's the being able to go and say, well, yeah, you know, we signed D1 out of high school. I haven't played for 3 years, but I did it. It's like, okay, well, if that was your goal, then good for you, man. But like for me, this game ends for everybody at one point or another, and I, for one, wanted to play as much as I could. And that's what the JC Avenue did for me. I had to start for 2 years. I got 120 games under my belt before I even went to a D2. Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. You can't trade that experience in for anything. So like that's what we're trying to re-educate parents on is it doesn't matter what level you go, it matters where you finish and where you end up. Like if that's not your goal or you are good enough to get that D1 offer, but you're not getting the D1 offers you want, then go play somewhere that you can transfer out after 2 years and then try and get that offer.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to get it all right now.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. There's time. And like parents are grossly uneducated in the fact that the college recruiting process is really freaking long. Like we've had multiple guys sign like July and then go to school in August. Like, does that happen all the time? No, but like there's the right fit for everybody and just wait for that fit. Like make sure that if baseball ended tomorrow, could I still go to school here? If baseball ended, could I still be happy and get my education here? Like that's like, at the end of the day, baseball is great, but you got to have a life after the fact too.
Mm-hmm.
So figure that shit out too.
I mean, to piggyback off of that, Esky, dude that played second base with us at Garden, he literally was working construction until August, and then Finney hit him up.
Yeah,
it was like, "Hey, we need a dude," and he drove up in August. Like, there are a lot of opportunities in a lot of different places where you can end up, like you said, having not as much debt, having, still being able to play, still being able to do all these things. You have one athlete that is in a situation of just looking to, get some games under their belt, looking to possibly transfer to a D2 or whatever. But then on that same team, you have a guy throwing 94, 98 that's looking to get drafted. And that's the thing that like junior colleges offer such a wide range of so many different athletes. And I see it just get discredited so quickly just because it's junior college. Literally the other day was in the cage and overheard an athlete going, "Oh, well, I'm not going to junior college." And I'll be the first one to say, I was the same way. I did not go to junior college right away. I ended up going, D1. It was the best thing. Oh, D1. Signed D1. go there for a semester, and I was like, this is dog shit.
Yeah.
This
So
is freaking
let's be honest. You also went to a dog shit program.
It was also a D1. There was
that.
bada bing, bada boom. And I ended up transferring to Garden City, and was my favorite place I ended up playing at out of the 3 different schools. And so it's just one of those where, like, it's able to fit so many different avenues of athletes, but it's so quickly disregarded because of the lack of, knowledge of the parents. Because let's be honest, if you get in the car ride, and let's say a junior college coach talked to you, you get in the car, your dad's driving, your mom's driving, whatever it is, you're like, oh, hey, like, so-and-so talked to me. And they're like, oh, are they D1 or D2? You're like, oh, well, they're junior college. Oh, well, you're not going there. Right? Yeah. That immediately puts that in the kid's mind, too, of, well, I'm not going to junior college.
Correct.
And it's just from not knowing, and it's a disservice I think a lot of big box offices do to also just keep that kind of wheel going.
And there's that allure of, like, I think who I talked to about I forget who it was, but it's that, we send these kids, like you said before, it's like, there's so many of these big box programs that will send a kid to a school, and it's basically just to, like, say, oh, we sent this kid to a D1 school, but then they don't really give a shit about them after they leave. Yep. And then, like, I was going over, I was looking at Metro's roster. How many kids on that roster right now are Division I kickbacks? It's incredible,
dude.
There's like probably two-thirds of that program are all Division I kickbacks at this point, and it's because these guys get brought into this idea of, like, I need to go to Division I. I think I'm good enough to go to Division I because my big box coach tells me I'm good enough to go play at that Division I school, and then they don't play, and they're like, well, shit, what do I do now? And then they come back home, come play for Metro, they come back to play for Mines if they're smart enough. They go play for Regis, they go play for CCU, or they go play for Mesa, maybe. It's like there's that allure of D1. But if you're not good enough, like, realistically, like, it's somewhat one of those, like, where you can't buy into what your coach tells you all the time.
Well, and then here's one of the other statistics that nobody wants to talk about, but behind SEC, Pac-12, Big 12, you know what one of the top rated recruiting MLB classes is for division programs? It's the freaking RMAC.
Yeah.
The RMAC has more guys drafted than most of the mid-major D1 guys. So, like, if you're genuinely serious about wanting to play pro ball, go look at the fucking RMAC.
Yeah.
You're going to play a lot better baseball than going and playing for said small D1 university. Like, go play good baseball. Like, that's the same thing, right? And I'll say, back to Connor's point too, like, just from an education purpose, like, looking at it from educationally too, I will tell you, the gen eds that I had to retake at my D2 school were the worst classes that I have ever taken in my life. They were the hardest classes that I have ever taken in my life. I was a 3.3 in high school. I was a 3.8 at Colby. Like, easiest schooling I've ever done.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I got 90% of my gen eds knocked out. Like, then I got to Wayne, and I'm having to take a history class with a professional historian, and I'm like, why am I here right now? Right? So, like, get your schooling done while it's easy too. Oh, I got something in my eye.
Damn. Brooks, it almost kind of feels like we're back in math class.
Dude, I don't know. How did we pass math?
We were good at baseball. That was our good year.
17 baby. I can't believe we did 8 weeks of college algebra every single day at 7:30 in the morning. The last 8 weeks of the semester.
It was horrendous.
It was terrible.
It was
we got it done.
So Brooks, we gotta get you in the conversation a little bit. What is the so at Front Range? What is your guys' hitting philosophy? Because I know you guys are both hitting guys.
I mean,
bring it back into Front Range.
I mean, pretty much it's the same as Connor's, really.
Yeah.
Like, we believe that everyone's got a different swing. It's not a one size fits all method.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of just we see where guys are at, and we're like, okay, well, maybe a teacher man swing in quotes would work better for this guy compared to this guy. Like, okay, this guy is a little bit too handsy. Let's get him back to more barrel turn,
right,
kind of thing. But yeah, we like to not be the one size fits all kind of program, and I think there's I think there's too many people out there who's trying to do one thing and one thing only
Yeah.
as like a hitting coach, and not like, hey, let's just like reel in all the possibilities.
Mhm.
And if this works, great. If it doesn't, let's try something new.
Right.
And I mean,
What do you guys do for on the pitching side, the pitching development side?
So I'm running that right now because we don't. Here's my philosophy on that. Like I said earlier, I want good coaches in the building,
Yeah.
right? So until we have somebody that is better than me at doing throwing stuff, then I got to do it right now. That's just what I got to do, right? Like I caught for long enough. Like
Yeah.
Cole, you can attest to this. Like catchers usually know their shit when it comes to pitching stuff. So like
they do a decent job.
I was a two-way my first year too, so like I pitched a little bit in college as well. So like I have some chops with that kind of stuff. So like right now we're pretty mellow with our throwing. We're doing if guys come in, we're just doing some spot pens if they feel like they didn't do enough at school, because that's what high schools are great at, is making sure that guys just hang out, because everybody just wants to tell everyone that they're on varsity, right? They
Right.
just hang out and just, hey man, but I'm on varsity. So all these guys we get come back in and need pens, need that stuff. So like my big deficiency as a pitching coach was, as a two-way guy, and anybody that has been a two-way guy can attest to this, is did I do any of the pitching off-season work? Hell no. Because what was my job? My job was to go do all my defensive work catching, and then, oh shit, we've got 10 minutes left to practice. Hey, make sure you go throw your bullpen.
Go fit something in. Or
Sounds good, right? So like I had to do a whole bunch of research on things that I wanted to do, things that I wanted to implement in our own program. So like we started doing some of the driveline plyo care. We actually had Peter Bayer come in and kind of give us a clinic on, hey, like if you had our space, what were the kinds of things that you would want to do in here, right? And so he kind of coached me up a little bit to help us do that. So like started the driveline plyo care stuff. I'm going to do a lot more med ball rotational stuff, because I'm big into the med ball work now. While we were at ABCA, I listened to Florida State's pitching coach talk about all their med ball routines. And
I watched
stuff.
that. I watched that speech.
I literally wrote down all that stuff. I was like, I'm so bought into this. This is what we need to be doing, right? So now we're gonna do like pitching and hitting wise, right? So right when summer starts, we're gonna have more small group rotations for practices, where we're gonna have 4 or 5 guys coming at a time, right? Where first 20 minutes you're going in to do your arm care plus. You're testing your mobility stuff, like how's your arm feeling today, right? Like we're going to get our metrics done so that they can come in and do their throwing program. Then they're going to come in with me, do their plyos to warm up, do their med balls to warm up, and then get whatever throwing they need in for that day. If it's Tuesday, we probably do pen day 2, and then after they're done with their time with me, then they go hit with Brooks for half hour, 45 minutes, and then we send them on their way, and we just go through a big rotation like that. But basically the way I'm running pitching right now is I'm looking at guys and saying, hey, what are your goals? Like, what do you want to be doing? And then let's meet those things. Like, you're not going to not meet them because of me. You're going to not meet them because you're not coming in here and giving me what I'm asking you to give. Like, you look at me and you say you want to throw 90. Cool shit, dude. But you better be like, here's the outline, here's the program that we've got to do to even be remotely close to that. And it's going to take this amount of time. Because, like, more than most, like, velo gains are based on the athlete too. Like, you're going to have guys ebb and flow, and things are going to happen at different times just based on development, based on what work they're putting in, based on flexibility. So like, that's another thing. I have guys, like, we now have a full-time yoga instructor in studio that's running yoga sessions for us on Mondays. So I have some of my pitchers that are claiming, hey, I want to throw 90. Guess what? Yoga's required on Mondays. You've got to show up. You've got to get flexible, and you've got to do this. You want to do that. This is what it takes. Or like, I have guys looking at me saying, hey, I want to be the starting shortstop. Sweet. We have infield instruction nights on Friday. You better be at all of them.
Yeah.
Like, you want to do these things. It comes with a cost. Like, it's not just, hey, I want it, so here it is. Like, that's where we're different than a lot of guys. Is like, everything in our building is earned, like 1,000%.
I was laughing when people ask me, like, should I do yoga? Can I do yoga as a pitcher? I'm like, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So when I was at Cloud, we had a yoga class.
Yeah.
That was offered. That, like, everyone thought it's one of those stupid things where you, like, when you do it, everyone was like, why the fuck are you doing that? That's like gay. You know? I was like, dude, I've never felt better in my life when I was doing that. It was like a quarter of semesters. Like, it was only like half the semester, the class. And like there were 2 girls that I remember were in the class that they were friends with the baseball team and all, and they came to it, and all of a sudden they stopped coming. And I was just like, why aren't you coming to yoga anymore? They're like, dude, that class is over. And I was like, oh, it is? I was like, no idea. I just kept coming. Because it's the best.
Well, and that's my thing, right? Is like, do I have any reason to do it with the players? Hell no. But do I do it with the players every Monday? Yeah, I do, because it's great.
It makes me feel fantastic.
It makes me feel fantastic. And like, we literally had one session, because I made it mandatory for a small group, right? Like the pitcher that I told you about, that's the 6'4" monster. But he is the most inflexible kid I've ever seen in my entire life. I was like, dude, this is mandatory for you, because you're throwing, as a 14-year-old kid, you're throwing 82 with zero flexibility. You gain even a little bit of flexibility, we're throwing smoke by summer.
Right.
Like, literally one session, I have 4 guys come up to me after, and they're like, I see why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I already, like, another inflexible catcher that I had come do it. Literally 2 weeks of doing it, I dropped into his practice, because Castleview still uses our place every once in a while to come in and do indoor work.
Yeah.
Watched him catching bullpens at Castleview practice, and he's already 3-4 inches deeper into his squat for 2 weeks. And I'm like, dude, like, that's the intangible stuff that he's like he literally looked at me and he was like, dude, I already feel a difference. I was like, and we're 2 weeks in. Think about, you keep this schedule for an entire year. Like, we have, like, her name's Rhonda. She actually works over at DC and runs some of the DC stuff too. So she's an English teacher there too. So
what's her last name?
Rhonda, I'm so sorry if you're listening to this. Sorry, Rhonda. But because
I'm a DC grad.
So I know.
But,
so that was it, right? So she committed that she's like 1 day a week. So we're even going to implement it in the summers. Like, we travel a lot over the summers. So Mondays are going to be our day where we're going to do, like, come in, no baseball activities. So, but that's when we're going to do our speed work, and then cool down yoga on Mondays after we're done playing, right?
Just love that.
Build up, break down constantly to keep these guys healthy, right? Because, like, the summer is the first taste of the grind that you get. Yeah. Like, really, because you have to practice 2 or 3 days a week still. Like, you still got to do some of that stuff. Yeah. But then also it's also doing the games on the weekends, and literally just getting that first taste of, hey, we're doing everything right now.
Right.
So, like, that's where I love it. We're trying to implement more pieces that make it feel more like a college atmosphere, so that when these guys go off, like you said, they look at us and say, okay, yeah, now I was prepared.
The biggest thing that I like you guys doing different is the organization that I was with at the very beginning, that I went through 3.5 years of and everything. I was done with the coaching. I did not want to be a part of, running a team, going to games, because I was seeing the lack of player development that we had time available for, and how much time they were spending with us, but we weren't able to develop. Yes. And for me, that was the biggest thing that I had an issue with. I actually went to the owners of it, everyone that was running it, and I proposed, like, hey, what are your thoughts on me sticking with the program, but me running the player development for everything, at least like the hitting and infield? Because if you guys are going at this rate, like, this is going to be something that's going to be needed. Maybe not for your top premier team, because they're all finding that elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But the second team, the third team, the fourth team, they said no. And I think that goes to show what their business model is, and what differs from you guys. And I think you guys are doing the right way, right?
I appreciate that.
Thank you. I mean, and I like that whole your segment there is like when guys like actually dive into it and they realize, oh, like, it's that light bulb moment where he's like, oh, this does work, and there is a reason for that. That's why we tell guys all the time, I'm like, get in with a strength coach. If you're really serious about this, you'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, we get guys who will go work with Joel downstairs, or JC, or Trevor, or Zach, who's our new strength coach, and then they do that for a couple weeks, and they go like, oh, I feel better, I'm stronger, I feel more powerful. And I mean, obviously the way we do it is a little bit different from like what I think people think is strength and conditioning.
Yeah, and I won't lie to you, there's growing pains with it.
Oh yeah,
like 1,000% there's growing pains with it. Like, for example, and this isn't me hanging my guys out to dry, because like I said, I'm 1,000% honest with my guys. Last summer, we're a group of 16-year-old kids playing 18U baseball, like, knowing that we're developing, and I want you guys to see this, because I'd rather you guys feel comfortable in this environment for when it matters, than to be like, okay, we're going to settle, we're going to play 16s, we're going to face people our own age, and then when we have to face the big boys, we're all going to be a little bit overwhelmed, have some nerves. Well, now we've been doing it for 2 years. Did we go like 10 and 20 last summer? Absolutely we did. And it was a grind and it sucked. We lost way more games than we won. But every one of those kids looked at me after the fact and was like, hey, we understand why we did this. Like, we're bought in. Let's keep going. Then we won a few more games this fall because now we've been more accustomed to seeing this. And then now this summer, we're ready to just freaking run at guys because now they're looking at each other like, well, now we are this age. We've been doing this. We've been doing this for the last 2 years. Like, let's go compete. Right? Like, that's my big thing too, is like, I'm 1,000% honest with our guys. Like, back to the showcase thing. I am the black swan with that, where like, I disagree with showcase stuff so much, where I feel like showcase events are good for showcase type players.
Yes.
But every person just going to a perfect game event just because they feel like they need those numbers and they need that stuff, like, you're going to do more harm than good. And like, we had players, like, legitimately some of our players went against our advice. We're like, hey, we're going to go do this showcase. I said, hey man, you do what you got to do. I don't recommend it, but I'm not going to sit here and say, no, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say, go ahead. And he came back to me and he was like, my exit velos were like 82. I threw like 70 on the mound. It was terrible. I said, yeah, like, you're not a showcase player.
Well, that's what I always laugh about. Like, you and I have talked about this on the podcast before about PBR Colorado has been doing a great job of like sponsoring themselves, where they'll post like kids who've gone to their showcases and where they're going now. I remember there's one kid, I won't name him because he's pretty easy to figure out, but it's like, it put in the comment section, like, here is this kid. He's graduating this year. He went to 11 PBR showcases in his 4 years in high school.
Yeah.
And he's committed to Northern Colorado.
Yeah.
And I just sit there like, okay, so you went to 11 showcases to just go to Greeley.
Yeah. Dude, and that's what it is, right? And like, that's where the disconnect is for me, because like, have either of you heard of Virtual Combine before?
Yeah. Yes.
So like, to me, I would love to offer to players, say, hey, you want to get numbers? Come to our facility. I'll charge you a small fee. We'll build you the same profile.
Right.
You're not spending $1,000 to go do this for a weekend. You pay me $40 to $60 a time you want to come in here. Like, oh shit, like, I'm feeling like I'm going to hit 100 today instead of 94. I want to come in and retest today. Boom, let's do it. And then you can have numbers and we can have all this verified data. To me, that's what should be done.
Yeah.
Because then we can use things like Virtual Combine to just shift all that stuff out, because they have all that coaching network database too of like, hey, all these coaches use this. So now you have your profile built, ship it to them.
Yeah.
Transfer this over to NCSA, ship it to them. Like, it's done then.
Well, and that's what I said. I'm like, there's a lot of now, like, you've done this before. I guarantee you've done this before. It's like, there's just now so many more resources beyond these showcases these days, where like I can take a kid, and I've done this before many times, where I can take a kid, shoot some video behind him, like give him, that way you can see a radar gun, you can see how his pitches move and everything like that. Post it on Twitter, and I get thousands of views on that video.
Yes.
And like, a coach is going to sit there and go like, oh, there's a kid that might be able to help me win more games. You don't need to go to these. Go for it.
I was going to say, I will say it's a lot easier to get recruited as a pitcher or get signed as a pitcher than it is a hitter, because I swear, when I was trying to play indie ball, I would go off at one of these like tryouts and they'd be like, we kind of need to see a little bit more. And the pitcher comes in, throws 95. They're like, yep, sign here, which I get. You throw 95, you should be signed. But
it's the reaction. I mean, I have a gripe with it, but I understand it. It's like, we're having to react, right? Like, we're having to adjust to what they're throwing, whereas those Jabberwonkies get to just throw it and nothing happens.
Oh, yeah.
Like, 95 is going to be 95 whether you're in a bullpen or whether you're on a game. I was hitting a ball, 105 miles an hour. That's going to change whether it's front toss or machine or whatever it is, and that's the part that sucks. Yeah. And, like, that's the part that makes, spaces like your guys' and spaces like here, we have to be smart. We have to be inventful. We have to be different with ways of how we are able to market our players and everything like that. And so that's been the biggest thing for me, and I'm sure you guys are on the process of or already doing it, is, everything we do is off of something that is like or similar to a live arm. Like, we're using a spin ball machine that's throwing like 75 to 95 miles an hour, because that's what is going to be comparable to when you're actually in a game, versus you see a lot of other places. PBR is one of them where it's off of BP or is hitting off of a tee and stuff like that. And I think that's what makes it more difficult is for a lot of people on the receiving end. They don't know what they're looking at. There's looking at a good swing. Well, how are they able to compare that to the players that they have? Or how are they going to be able to compare you to another player? And for here, that's one of the biggest things that I was trying to, address is how do I get a kid recruited out of here when it's not in a game? And how are you guys looking to address that with your guys' place? I know you guys Rapsodo?
Yeah,
guys using Rapsodo.
We got the hit tracks, but the problem with our hit tracks right now is half of the lights in our facility are dimmed or out. So we have to change the lights before we can put the hit tracks in. Like, I'm not going to get good enough data out of my hit tracks if I have half the lights. And it's all back end cage. Like, you hit a ball into the back end, you might as well just duck because you have no idea where it's going right now. So scaffolding's coming in next week. We get to get lights fixed. Like,
Nice.
Exciting. Thank goodness.
Let's go.
But
Like, what machines and stuff do you guys have? Like, how do you guys kind of address that, like, difference?
So for hitting, pitching, everything.
Or, I mean, for hitting, like, as our, like we said, like, pitchers can just go throw 95.
Right.
They get sound like, how, like, do you guys go about your, I don't know, is it just general practicing, or when you guys are doing the assessments, like, how do you guys go about the hitting side to be able to market your guys as players?
So what we mostly did, what was it, back in November, December? We did assessments.
Yeah,
we did. So we did assessments, and that was off just straight like 75 mile per hour machine, just right down the middle. Let's see what you got off the Rapsodo, kind of, and like it was just more to see where guys were at and everything. And we saved that data, and then like we honestly probably should do another one soon. Do another assessment within the next couple months, see where they're at, and start building from there. And then obviously take a video of their swing. Okay, like from November to April, where is your swing then compared to now? Is it different? Is it better? Is it worse? How can we help you? How can we help you to become just better overall?
Are you guys using like junior hack, spin ball? Where you got what kind of machine you guys rocking?
we got hacks, and then we just got an iHack. Both machines are down right now. Which
suck.
What?
You got an iHack?
I got an iHack, baby.
Oh, let's go.
We got so Scott's the guru, man. Scott figures out, he finds people that are looking to sell things that have been barely used, and we get things at discount. So like we got a brand new iHack for, I'm not going to disclose, but like we're going good deal for us for an iHack, right? So like I love the iHack. So it's programmed in there right now where I have two different fastballs, where I have one that's a guy gearing up, throwing like 3 miles an hour harder. It'll always go a little bit more up, right? Because that's what arms do. The second they want to go, it's going to rise a little bit, do that. So it's set to, let's just say 75 is our baseline fastball. 77 or 78 is going to be that climbing fastball. And our cages right now are 50 feet. So that's about, you add the little bits of, so they're probably 80 to 82, right? So we get that climb, and then you can also mix change-ups in there, which will dump balls down low. But it literally gives our guys a tool, right, to be, okay, so we're hunting for the 75-mile-an-hour fastball. But what you can have it do is you set up those 3 pitches and you hit random sequencing. And all they have to do running the machine is hit next pitch, and it'll instantly change the wheels. Yeah. And the wheels only take a half second to readjust. So literally they can click it, boom, next ball goes in. Click it, boom, next ball goes in. But what it gets to teach our guys is they're hunting that pitch, right? They're hunting that one that's going to be belly button high, and it's going to go dead center cut. The balls that are rising, they're trying to lay off of. They're not going to every time. They're going to either try and stay on top and wrap around and just barrel a ball back up the middle, and then they're trying to let the changeups die to the ground, because I have it set up perfect to where it's literally going to go tube and tunnel, and it's just freaking perfect for development with those guys. They hate it.
No, they hate it,
which is good. Which is very good.
Good. Like, kind of going back to overtraining players. I remember the longest time, all I ever grew up on was just front toss, BP, stuff like that. get to Garden, Finney is out here with the hack right at 90. We're doing hack games. Hey, you got two pitches put in play, figure it out.
Yeah.
Freaking doors getting blown off. I remember first time I faced a hack attack, I did not touch one ball.
Yeah.
One ball. I thought I was the worst player in the whole freaking world. And I hated the hack attack. I always hated the games. And then the funny part is the more and more as I started to climb, the more I was like, I actually do like the hack attack.
No, it's a tool that you have to train with, because literally, like, I had the same type of story. My sophomore year of college, didn't touch a single ball in the machine all year because we never trained with it in high school. I didn't train with it my whole freshman year. And then we turned into we see how beneficial machines are. We're going to start using machines a little bit. And then I was ass. And it was like, and then because I'm getting older at that point, I took the wrong avenue and just said, well, fuck machine work. This is bullshit. I'm not doing this until, like, and this is so silly for me to say, but, like, I've done more tweaking to my swing since I've been done playing than I ever did while I was playing, because now with all this tech and stuff, I have more of an understanding of, okay, this is the feel that I'm trying to get. I've coached this a billion times. This is the feel I'm trying to get. I know what I'm trying to feel. I'm actually a better hitter now than I ever was actually playing. I can put up better numbers now, almost 30, than I could when I was 20. Like, that doesn't make any sense, but that's where the tech comes in. Like, we teach our guys to use the tech as a tool, not the only thing that they're worried about. Like, there's days where our guys get into ruts and they'll take 40 swings on the day because Rapsodo's acting up and they couldn't get anything in. And I'm like, okay, well, now that you made that decision, I'm going to make the decision to hide Rap day 2, and you guys are going to get no data swings because you guys just decided to blow an entire day because you couldn't get data. Yep. So now you're not going to get data, and we're going to go. But again, like, it's the education piece, and, like, I get why people are against some of the tech stuff. Like, I'm not here to say those people are idiots, right? But, like, look at it as a training assistance rather than just, hey, we're just getting guys on numbers just to see numbers. Like, I can't tell you how many guys they'll look and they'll use things like, I don't ever have my guys look at launch. Like, hardly ever do I have guys obsess over launch unless they're extreme one way or the other. Then it's like, okay, hey, we're going to sit in this range. Just try and shoot for this range. I'm not saying you got to dip, rip, and pimp. I'm not saying you got to do this, but, like, hey, you're hitting nothing but 35s and 40s. Like, let's try and sit for, like, an 18 to 22. That's your range for today. Right. That's when we look at launch angles. But, like,
well, have guys, or even, like, we'll literally tell them to hit ground balls.
Yeah.
Like, for the love of God, stop hitting it straight up. Hit some ground balls. Let's find the middle.
Hey, a ground ball can be a hit too.
Okay, so sidebar with that, right? So, like, how many times, Connor, in your hitting career, have you been like, okay, a coach looks at you and says, Connor, I swear to fucking God, if you hit another fly ball, you're not hitting for the rest of the day. What do? You slam a fucking ball into the ground. You know how many hitters I'll look at and say, hey, you don't do this right here and you're just done? Or, like, pitchers, I'll have guys throw up. Yeah. I'm like, okay, you better spike one here or your bullpen's done because we're not getting any work here. And then they'll throw another pitch up, and I'm saying, okay, see ya. You know what I would have done in that situation? I would have thrown a ball 25 feet just so that I could keep my pen going, right? Like, get a job done. Right. Because, like, that's my big thing is all these coaches teach kids that effort is enough. Like, that trying really hard is what coaches care about. Or if you come in, slam your gear, dang, that kid cares so much. I don't give a shit, man. Like, at the end of the day, like, yeah, try as hard as you want. But you either get what I'm asking you to do done or you don't. Yeah. That translates. It's either you're doing what I'm asking or you're not. I can put people in the field that are doing what I'm asking to get results done. That's not me saying that what I do is better than everybody else and I'm the one that knows everything and you got to do. It's a coachability thing. Right. If you're going to try and make the effort, then I'm going to make the effort to get you what you need. But if you're going to sit here and just say, oh, well, yeah, I'm trying to do that, it's just not happening. Well, okay, cool. Well, then I'm going to try to get you out on the field then, because I'm going to show you the same effort you're showing me.
I think that goes hand in hand with the machine. Mm-hmm. Kind of circling back to it is, I have a theory that, well, I'll start off with this story. I hated machines too. Yeah. So I refused to hit off of machines because, well, you know, machines are not realistic. And I heard that one time and I was like, oh, they're not. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that's why I can't hit them.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Oh, yeah. Now, in my head, you know, I thought I was, you know, God's gift to this earth as a hitter because I was hitting really well in the shittiest 5A conference in the EMAC in all of Colorado. But I thought that meant I was a good hitter, not that I was just facing shitty pitching. So I never hit off a machine. All of a sudden we get to Garden, can't hit worth a shit.
Yep.
Not worth a shit, right? And so there was a machine in the ACAD that had a wire loose on the bottom wheel, and every about 4th to 6th pitch was a changeup.
Yep. Yeah.
And I hated it. And I just, I can't do this. And then going through just day after day, going in on my own and hitting, was able to start to kind of figure it out. All of a sudden, start hitting better in games. And it kind of comes down to like that coachability and not just being able to listen to coaches, but also being able to challenge yourself and overcome something like that and not being scared. I compare it to an ostrich. Are you going to be someone that's willing to face the challenge? And hey, you may not make it, but guess what? You face it, and now you know what to do next time.
Yes.
If you're an ostrich and you just stick your head in the sand to hope that the problem or the boogeyman goes away, you're not going to get better. You're just delaying the inevitable. And I think that's one thing that machines are able to kind of showcase to hitters, at least, is that I have a theory that good hitters can hit the machine if it's perfect. Shitty hitters can't hit the machine at all. Great hitters can hit the machine wherever it goes. So you'll hear, one kid that was go through, oh, coach, that wasn't right down the middle where the machine's been set up. That was a little bit up.
Could you put it down a little bit? Oh, you're gonna tell the pitcher that? Like, yeah. Hey, do you mind just a tad?
Yeah.
Just slow it down.
That's not my zone.
Your great hitters don't give a shit.
No,
Don't give a shit.
No.
And then your kids that aren't very good, that may be decent at the level of which they're playing against, which, maybe it's Colorado JV high school level.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm really good against, when I'm playing in the game, so I don't need to hit off a machine. We were facing 75 to 78 every single day. Like, I'm glad you can hit that what you're going to face next year. And they're just delaying the inevitable. And I think it comes down to that ability of they're not willing to challenge themselves and overcome it. It's just really, really easy to go, well, it's not realistic.
Remember, so we just beat Fort Scott in the sub-regional.
Oh, shit.
And there was Monday rolled around, or whatever, and we're going to go over a scouting report because we get to face Cowley, friggin' first round of the regional.
Fuck Cali.
And
Friday night game.
Friday night, under the lights, and we get to face Carson LaRue, who's like 93, 95, 5 pitches for a strike. And Finney gave us a scouting report, and all of us were like, sweet,
Okay,
let's do it. And we cranked the machine that week. We lost that game 11-1, but I think we had 16 hard hit baseballs. We lit Carson up. Only 8 hits dropped. We just couldn't figure out a way to score,
Right.
which sucked.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you, like, we never saw 95 all year.
Yeah.
All of us were put into the box. We're like, oh shit, this is actually 95. But then after a little bit, we're like, okay, we started like,
You saw this last week off of the junior hack.
like,
Off of the regular hack.
yeah. So it goes to show you, you can easily prepare with it. It's just if you want to buy in words. Buy in on it or not.
Well, and I think it goes to, and this is another piece of it, I think why great hitters are able to hit the machine, whether, it's moving or if the velo changes a little bit and your good hitters can't. I personally believe there's a different distinction between I know myself as a hitter versus I'm able to compare myself to that pitcher. Mm-hmm. So you'll see guys that, let's say they're just more athletic than the pitcher as a hitter. I'm going to be able to still get out on my front foot. I'm still going to be able to hit this ball because I'm better than he is. I'm more athletic than he is. The moment you get to level competition where that machine, you can't get a timing mechanism off of the machine. It is just simply, I believe, a mirror to the hitter. So if I don't know my timing as a hitter on my own, I'm not going to be able to hit the machine because I have nothing to gauge it off of. When you're seeing a regular arm, you can see the arm coming through. You can kind of, if you're really athletic, kind of cheat the system a little bit just by being more athletic or having better hand-eye. But when it comes to the machine, you can't. The machine doesn't tip its pitches. The machine doesn't change its timing. It's the same thing every single time. And as a hitter, if I'm inconsistent with my timing of my load, if I'm inconsistent with the timing of my stride, because I don't know what my timing is, I always just base it off the pitcher, I'm going to struggle because I'm not aware of myself as much as I am just aware that I'm better than that guy out there. And I think that kind of is a a showcase or a mirror to the athlete. Sometimes if they're not, maybe they're good in the game, but they're not, good hitting off the machine, it's really easy to just say like, well, I'm going to get defensive because, well, I can hit in the game. And I think it goes to just kind of show where they are actually at, which can be difficult. Like how you say, like, your sophomore year, you couldn't hit it, and you're just kind of like, all right, screw this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Rather than making that adjustment, like going, all right, well, why can't I hit it? And I think there is sometimes a distinction between athletes when they run into that. And if they're in a program like your guys's, you guys are going to force them to face the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Whereas some other programs are going to be like, oh, you don't like the machine? Oh, okay. Let's go back over to here and let's do some front toss for some good video, and we'll post that onto, Twitter and CSA.
Well, and here's the other reason that I love it so much as a training tool, and I know that you will attest and have my back on this, but how many athletes are just quick to, oh, well, I'm not hitting on the machine, so it has to be something mechanical, and I'm going to yard sale everything that we've worked on for the last 3 months. They're like, no, dude, it's just your foot's down late. So when your foot's down late, all your sequencing happens later. And when your sequencing happens later, your body gets into positions that it shouldn't get in, that it never gets in.
Because it's panic button.
It is. So like, oh, well, now I can't get my turn right and I can't do this. Well, yeah, no shit. If you don't start at the right time, like if you don't get your foot down, like that's the thing that I see more than anything is guys are just so unwilling to get their foot down on time, and they're so afraid to have their front foot down early. And I'm not saying you should always strive to have foot planted and then we wait 5 seconds for a ball to come in, but like be more afraid of getting your foot down late and having to panic button the rest of your swing than to be a smidgen early and still be able to put a barrel on a ball. 100%. Like that's what the machine helps you do. And like honestly, if the like I leave shitty balls in rotation on purpose because every once in a while, then that one clicks into a 2-seamer. Now it's a cutter. Now it's a shitty balls stay in rotation for a reason. And then I have kids coming to me saying, well, why don't we just toss these out? We have 3 buckets of new balls sitting in the back. I know we do. And you're getting better because of these shitty balls. So enjoy these shitty balls.
Preach.
Stabbings, baby. Preach to that. 100%.
The funny part is like these kids will, like Drake say, will freaking just yard sell it because they're sucking. Like we literally don't give a shit if you go 0 for 10, but if you're getting the right movement patterns down, that's what we care about, and that's what's going to play in game. You got to realize, like they need to realize it's a process, and it's not going to be this quick fix. Like we want them to suck.
Right.
That's the only way that they're going to get better.
And I could be wrong, but Connor, tell me how many times you've stepped into the box and thought about every adjustment you've made throughout the entire week inside of a game.
When I was hitting like shit every single at bat, when I was doing my best, never.
Exactly, right? So
You don't think about breathing.
Like,
you don't think about walking.
Yes, and you try and preach that to the hitters, right? As you tell them, hey, like when you get into a game situation, and to me, machine is a game-like situation.
Mm-hmm.
It should be foot down on time, fine barrel. Those should be the only things going through your head. Like, I don't care if your swing looks ugly as shit. If you're doing those 2 things for me, we're going to be happy. But what do I have? We go and see, and I'm going to throw Cam under the bus right now.
Get after the head. We're coming at Cam, but we're coming at you, baby.
We're talking to Cam in between games at Castleview, and he comes over to us and he's like, hey, man, my swing feels just a little bit off. Like I feel like I'm dipping my back shoulder. And I say, you're thinking too much. Just take a deep breath, foot down, fine barrel. Yeah, okay, but like I feel like I literally looked at Brooks and I was like, dude, in one ear, out the other, just already overthinking the fact that I'm telling him he's overthinking, right? Like, and that's what athletes are taught to do right now, is they're taught that they need a fix right that second, and because they're not succeeding, it has to be something wrong with the swing, not just, hey, my timing wasn't right, and because my timing wasn't right, my swing wasn't right. Hey, my front hip rushed on the mound, and because I rushed downhill, my arm couldn't catch up. But they're thinking, oh no, I've got to make these 6 mechanical changes to get this fixed. And it's like, no, just take a deep breath, trust what got you here, and if it doesn't work today, then get back in the lab tomorrow and figure it out. Yeah. But don't sit here and try and make a billion things out of nothing.
They're reading a tweet that I literally put out, I think, a day or 2 ago, because they're just preaching. They're just going on, and they're just solidifying that we're like the same.
Yeah, and that's my thing, right? That was the one thing that I learned more in college than anything else was more approach-based stuff, because really, and like, it's no fault to high school coaches because I did it for a year and 1 year was enough for me. I couldn't put the effort that I needed to into people to get the results that I wanted. I couldn't. Like, that was my thing. It's like, I was like, okay, I want to know the freshman, sophomore teams. I want to know those guys. I want to be able to help them. I don't have time to do that.
Right.
I have the time to get my team to win. I have the time to get my team in shape to go play a game. Like, that's what I had time to do. So, like, I get where they're coming from, but it has to be like, you have to just sit there and focus more on timing, approach. Like, we'll go in and, like, I'm talking to the high school guys in the cage, and like, we'll just be doing situational rounds inside because, again, situational baseball wins games. Like, hands down, bunting, hit and runs, running hits, whatever you want to do, but practicing that stuff, whether we're going to use it every game or not, practicing that stuff helps these guys have a better understanding of their swing. If we're doing move them over rounds and guys are just coming in there big dicking and pulling balls, like, what are we doing? Right? But it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, so I had our guys do a sim game the other night, and granted, these are 14U kids, so they don't know quite as much about baseball, which is fine. Like, I'm teaching these kids on the fly about some stuff, but it was like, okay, you're coming in here, 1 out, like, runners at second and third. What are we trying to do here? And their answer was, hit the ball hard. Okay, sweet. Yeah, but what, like, come on, like, what are we trying to do here, right? It's like, you have to come up with more than a plan than that. Or, like, I'm teaching my guys right now, like, if you want to have that big dick at bat, do it with less than 2 strikes. Once you have 2 strikes, your ass is mine and you're having a team AB. Like, second and third, less than 2 outs, you are now punching that ball somewhere to score a run. Like, deal with it. Like, you want to try and hit your 3-run shot, do it pitches 1 and 2. After those, you're mine. Like, we are doing this to score a run now. Like,
100%.
and again, like, you get teams that'll either buy into that or they won't, but then you have to force it at a certain point too. Like, where it's like, hey, we've got to do this. Like, and again, with the 14U guys, I've gone back to the ancient 2-strike approach of, okay, let's 2 strikes, let's crowd the plate, choke up on the bat, and just try and put a ball in play. Every kid that did it put a ball in play and watched another 14-year-old at their position make an error with the ball they just put in play. I was like, dude, this doesn't just happen at the youth level. It's going to still happen in high school, and every once in a while, it's still going to happen in college. Chances are, if you hit a ball on the screws, there's a good shot that something good is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all we try and preach to kids. Just put good barrel on the ball.
Yeah. And I'm sure that Cole sees this on the pitching side is, like how you just said, you have to have a plan. And a lot of the time when we're going through and I'm making adjustments with athletes and, I'll ask, what's wrong? They'll say something. I don't know. I'm early. I'm late. It's like, all right, we've identified the issue, but we haven't created a plan. I could sit here all day and say, I want to be a millionaire. But until I put a plan together, I can execute that plan, I'm not going to become a millionaire.
Yes.
Until you put a plan together of, all right, maybe this is the situation. Maybe I am early. How do we work from that? How do we make adjustments from that? What is the plan that we're going to put in place to be able to not be early anymore?
Yep.
And it's one of those where I feel like until you walk a kid down that, yellow brick road, full circle, that's called podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Until you walk them down that yellow brick road, they're not going to necessarily think of those things right away. Like, that's our jobs as coaches. And I feel like a lot of the time that aspect of just, we said at the very beginning, a lot of the time athletes are just kind of like waiting to be told what to do. And it's because throughout most of their life, they have essentially just been weighted and told, like, hey, do this. Like, after every single pitch or every single swing they take in the cage, a coach is rushing over and saying, hey, you did this wrong. You did this wrong. You did this wrong. Well, you're taking the value out of that athlete analyzing their own swing and saying, I'm just going to wait for someone to tell me.
Yeah.
And so then you get into high school and you're struggling and it's like, well, what's wrong? Well, I'm early.
No,
what are you going to do with that information?
Yeah, and that's where the 3 of us are same on hitting. It's like, there's rarely any times where I look at my guys and like dive in instantly. Like, my first thing out of my mouth every single time is, what do you think you did wrong? Like, you tell me where the swing broke down, because if you can't, then now we're taking 3 steps back to figure out something else.
Yep.
And then when you think about planning, I'll give Cole something that he'll like here. There will not be a day in my coaching career that I will ever call pitches. Not one. Not one. My catchers, I get into a room like we're starting this Friday. My catchers want to start going over game planning with the pitchers that we have on how we should be calling pitches, how we should be doing that stuff. And then pre-games, pre-weekends, it's my catchers' jobs to go in with our pitching staff that's going to be throwing that weekend to make game plans on how they want to throw to certain teams. And granted, sometimes that's going to change as we get onto the field and they see how their stuff's actually working that day, but there will not be a single day where I call pitches. Not one. Like, I literally put that on my catchers to, you, better know your pitching staff well enough to be able to call a game. Like, you've caught all these kids for 3 to 5 months now, which is what you'll get at the college level to know those guys. You'll have a fall. You'll have a fall to understand those guys your freshman year. You got to know what they do, their ins and outs, what they like to do, how they like to throw to set hitters. So, like, we'll do that situational stuff. But making the players create the game plan. Like, it also is a disservice if I go out there and create a game plan for them, because now they're not learning. They're doing that exact same thing of, oh, Mr. Coach, I accidentally rolled over this ball. What should I do? Well, no, let's figure this out. Like, you tell me what you should do. You tell me how you want to throw against this team. We're going to go play against the number 4 team in the country right now. How do you want to throw against them? Like, what's your pitching plan? How are you going to get these kids out?
Right. You guys got anything else? It's been a long one.
That was a long one.
No, man, I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Where can everyone find you on social medias or go to websites and everything like that?
What's our Front Range handle?
I think it was Front Range Baseball.
Yeah, I think it's just at Front Range Baseball. You know what? I'm gonna look because
Scott runs all the social.
Yeah,
I need to be better about
Where
it.
can they find you guys individually?
Oh, you can just look at me. I'm at Double D Biggs on Instagram. I don't post a lot though. So
Posting wifey pictures at this point.
yeah, that's it.
Okay, so
Still bragging.
Front Range is at Front _range_ baseball.
Okay.
And then you can find me at _Brooks. That's it.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, Drake, Brooks, it was a pleasure having you guys in. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah, pleasure as well. Thanks. Yeah.
If anybody out there is looking for a program to go play for in the summer and the fall, try hitting up these guys.
Do you guys have any openings on any?
Any other
right
openings?
now?
Yeah.
We do actually.
Where?
So
What ages?
We have 18U openings, and we could be open to some 16U openings, depending on if it's the right player or not. But I for sure have 18.
I might have a 16.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right.